Okay, in today's video, we're talking about Charlie X, but before we get started, I thought you might like to see what we were doing in the yard today. We're putting together a koi pond, and we just got the liner in, and we're filling it with water right now. So that has nothing to do with what we're doing here, but you see Farpoint Studio in the background, so I thought that might be a nice shot. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and Charlie X is the episode from the original series. It's episode 2 as it was aired, and we see prominently in this episode Yeoman Janice Rand. They only used Rand in a few episodes, and the fact of the matter is she was under quite some pressure from the producers and executives that she should lose weight. It didn't look like there was anything wrong with her in any of the scenes that she was in, but they wanted to make her a sex symbol, and for one reason or other, they weren't liking the fact that she wasn't looking like the ideal 60s young woman who would be starving herself to death, I think, is the standard of that time. So she had kind of a hard run in the early days of the first season, and we don't see her but on the first 4 or 5 episodes, and then that's it. Which is a shame because she's a good actor and actually did come back and in the motion picture. She was also used in, I believe, in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. No, in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. And in between those times, she had unfortunately had a problem with substance abuse, possibly from the treatment that she was getting from the executives. It's really a shame of how unenlightened we were in a show that was talking about more enlightened times. In the plot of the show, which you probably know, Charlie was a 17-year-old who had survived by himself long after the food concentrates would have been gone from the ship that had crashed on this planet. However, it was inhabited by what was thought by the Enterprise crew to be mythical beings that taught him how to transmute things. Although, while that's the only power that they ascribed to him, he did seem to have some mind-reading ability. He seemed to know what Janice's favorite fragrance was, happened to know without being in the room when Kirk was talking to the chef about trying to have artificial turkeys for Thanksgiving. These things he seemed to know about. He also seemed to know what was going to happen as far as the freighter that brought him in. He made a radiation shield disappear and indicated that he knew that it was going to fail anyway. This may have been just a matter of trying to justify his actions, or he might have actually known about it. And this wasn't something that was ascribed to the character. So kind of an odd mix-up in the writing there as far as I'm concerned. The show has not aged well. It seems that in talking about adolescent sexuality, everybody was way more uncomfortable with it than they should have been. This reflects some of the mores of the 60s, where there were younger people who were more willing to talk about sexuality and adults who were very uncomfortable with it. And obviously, the producers of the show and the networks were also concerned about it. There were a number of places where the network standards and practices stepped in and said, we should be careful how he is handled in all of this. So we have a couple of interesting things. We first established that Ahura is quite a singer and also a pretty good improvisational singer. She's singing about Spock in the rec room, and when Charlie comes in, she sings a song about him as well, and shows a very good singing voice. However, she is silenced so that Charlie can do card tricks. Now, this isn't the first time that Ahura is silenced. We'll see that in an upcoming episode. But the interesting interplay between members of the crew is still in evidence here, which kind of went away near the next season and into the third, that you didn't see a whole lot of rec room stuff. You didn't see a whole lot of people working out in the gym. You didn't see as many people in the corridors. And we do see that here. And it's interesting. It's nice that they did try to make this feel like a working ship. There were people that were doing jobs. There were people that were people that weren't just officers that were getting things done. And we also have a situation where the insignias on the uniforms of the cargo ship were not the same as on the Enterprise, and that's because they weren't Starfleet as such. Intentionally from the beginning, Starfleet was supposed to have one, the comet shield looking thing and the star on it. That was and star for the command, and the circles for science, and the spiral for engineering. And this was supposed to be across all of the Starfleet ships. And for some reason, the people who were doing the designing of the uniforms did not realize that after this cargo vessel had a different insignia, they started putting different insignias for different starships, and that wasn't intended. If you go back to the Cage, another captain that Pike is communicating with has the same badge that the Enterprise does. So that was the original intention, and it just kind of got lost along the way. So what we have is a battle of wits between Charlie and Kirk. He respects Kirk and for the most part does what he says. And it shows something about the authority of Kirk. We see something about his intellect in that he can beat Spock at three-dimensional chess, even when Spock thinks he's got him, when his mind is actually elsewhere. This is something that was not played up as much in later seasons of the series, of how brilliant Kirk was, not just as a commander, but as a person generally. The reboot movies indicated in early scenes where Pike is talking to young Jim Kirk and said, I looked at your records, and your IQ points are incredibly high. So they kind of did that in the reboot, but never really referred to it directly in the original series. And that's a shame, because I think that's one of the things that really defines Captain Kirk. Is not only is he a very instinctual person, he's also a very smart person. So as far as the story goes, written by Gene Roddenberry, who could write a good story, this is kind of a fish out of water story, a story about adolescence, if you had superpowers, would be a dangerous thing. And while there is, once again, as there was in The Man Trap, a bit of sexism in it, we are still we still have to take into account that this was done in 1966. So we'll give them some credit for that, but it does date the episode. Otherwise, though, it was another well-done episode, and we'd like to know what you think about it. You can put it down in the comments below. In the meantime, why not subscribe to the channel? We're going to go through all 74 episodes, plus The Cage, before we're done with this series. We'll be doing it over the summer, and trying to get it out at least once a week. Probably will accelerate that when things calm down around here, once we get our fish pond working. So until next time, don't go far.